What are you doing here? The words cut through the silence like a blade. The cleaner's daughter froze, clutching her worn-out notebook, her small frame hunched under the faint glow of a flickering lamp. The millionaire's footsteps echoed across the marble floor, each step heavy, deliberate, dripping with power. He had returned late, expecting silence, expecting emptiness. Yet here was a child who did not belong in his grand study, a child who had no right to touch the air that reeked of wealth and dominance. But her eyes, wide and unbroken, lifted slowly to meet his. They held no fear, only determination, and that was something he had not seen in years. His jaw tightened. His world was built on contracts, empires, and fear, yet here stood a girl, armed with nothing but paper, pencil, and courage. The night had just changed. The millionaire's eyes narrowed, scanning the notebook, clutched in her trembling hands, equations, sentences, dreams, scribbled in faded ink. He almost laughed. How absurd it seemed. A cleaner's daughter studying under the dim glow of a dying bulb, as if knowledge could shatter the walls of poverty that had trapped her. He stepped closer, his shadow swallowing her small figure, and his voice thundered again. Do you think this will change anything? Do you think the world cares what you write in that book? The girl did not flinch. Her lips quivered, but her voice, soft, steady, emerged. It matters to me. The words struck harder than any insult. For a moment his chest tightened. But no, he buried it. He reminded himself who he was, a man untouchable, feared, worshipped. And she was no one, just the daughter of a cleaner who should have been long gone from his mansion by now. Yet something about her defiance held him still. For the first time, he couldn't look away. The silence stretched heavy, suffocating. The millionaire's jaw tightened as he towered above her, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. He was used to fear. Men twice her age trembled at his presence. But this child, this fragile girl with ink-stained fingers and tired eyes, stared back with something he could not crush, resolve. He leaned in, his whisper colder than steel. Dreams are dangerous for people like you. They break you. They remind you of everything you'll never have. His words dripped like venom, but the girl didn't look away. Her gaze flicked to the book in her lap, the fragile pages filled with hope. Dreams don't break me, she said softly. They keep me alive. The words echoed in the vast mansion like a challenge, bouncing off walls built from his wealth, piercing the silence he commanded. And in that instant, the millionaire felt something he hadn't in years: doubt. She had planted a crack in the armor he wore so proudly. The millionaire straightened, his shadow swallowing the frail figure before him. His empire had been built on intimidation, on silencing those who dared to speak out of turn. Yet here, in the quiet corners of his own mansion, a child dared to defy him. He barked a laugh, sharp and cruel, but the sound rang hollow. Alive? Do you even know what that word means? He hissed. Life is power. Life is wealth. Life is owning the very ground you walk on. And you... He gestured at her threadbare clothes, her trembling hands, the flickering candle barely holding back the darkness. You have nothing. But she did not flinch. Her small voice cut through his arrogance like a blade. If I have nothing, then I have nothing to lose. That makes me stronger than you. For the first time in decades, the millionaire felt his chest tighten, not with rage but with fear. Because the girl was right. The words lingered in the air like thunder, echoing louder than the crackle of the candle. The millionaire's jaw clenched. But beneath his fury there was something else, something he had long buried: doubt. He stepped closer, his polished shoes grinding against the marble floor, towering over the girl as if sheer presence could crush her spirit. Stronger than me? He whispered, the venom in his voice trembling with unease. You're a child, a cleaner's daughter. You are dust beneath my empire. But the girl only raised her head, her eyes steady, unblinking. Empires fall. Dust remains. The room froze. The executives who had gathered at the doorway exchanged uneasy glances. Men who had bowed to power their whole lives suddenly questioning it. For in the frail defiance of a child, they saw something they had never seen in their master: truth. And the millionaire, for the first time, had no words. Silence thundered through the mansion, heavier than any storm outside. The millionaire's hands trembled, hidden behind his back. his empire of steel and glass, suddenly fragile in the face of a flickering candle and a child's courage. He tried to laugh, but the sound cracked. Do you think your little books will change the world? Do you think studying in the shadows makes you worthy? His voice rose, desperate, almost pleading. The girl did not flinch. She laid her hand gently on the open page before her, the ink-stained words glowing in the candlelight. Knowledge, she whispered, is brighter than your gold, stronger than your walls, and it cannot be taken away. The executives at the door shifted uneasily. Men once drunk on arrogance, now staring at the child as if she held the key to something far greater than their contracts and power. And in that instant, they began to believe her. The millionaire's jaw tightened, his empire of pride cracking beneath the weight of a child's words. He had silenced boardrooms, commanded nations of wealth, but he could not silence her. Her courage stripped away his armor, leaving only a man, broken, afraid of what he had become. He stepped closer, his shadow swallowing the candlelight. Do you know who I am? He thundered. The walls trembled with his voice, a warning, a threat. But the girl's eyes, clear, unshaken, met his without fear. Yes, she said softly. You're the man who has everything and nothing. The words struck like a blade. Executives gasped, their polished shoes suddenly feeling heavy, their gold watches meaningless. For the first time, the mighty millionaire faltered. His lips parted, but no words came. And in that silence, they all realized she had won the battle he didn't even know he was fighting. The millionaire staggered back, her words echoing like thunder in his chest. He looked at her hands, small, trembling, ink-stained from hours of writing under candlelight. She had nothing but scraps of paper, and yet she carried a fire he had never seen in men worth billions. Why fight so hard? He muttered, his voice almost breaking. Why chase dreams the world will never let you touch? The girl straightened in her chair, her fragile body trembling but her spirit unshaken. Because light shines brightest in the dark, she whispered. And if I give up, then the darkness wins. The words cut through him sharper than any deal, any betrayal. Executives shifted uneasily, realizing they were witnessing not weakness, but strength greater than their own. For the first time, the mighty man of money felt small, standing before a child who had nothing, and yet somehow had everything. The room was silent, but her words kept ringing, louder than applause, sharper than judgment. The millionaire's throat tightened, his polished shoes suddenly heavy on the marble floor. He had silenced competitors, crushed rivals, commanded entire boardrooms. But this little girl had stripped him of all armor with nothing but truth. He lowered his gaze, ashamed. Around him, the executives shifted, their pride collapsing under the weight of her courage. Some turned away, unable to face the reflection she forced upon them. Others clenched their fists, not in anger, but in regret. The girl's candle flickered, its small flame dancing against the shadows. And the boy, her brother, her protector, stepped closer, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. You're not alone, he said firmly, eyes locked with the millionaire's. The man's heart pounded. For years, he thought wealth made him untouchable. But tonight, a child had made him human. The millionaire's voice broke as he finally whispered, Forgive me. His empire, his pride, his titles, all crumbled in that single plea. And then, with trembling hands, he reached into his pocket. Not for money, not for power, but for a pen. He placed it on the table before her. Write your future, he said, his tone raw, stripped of arrogance. This house, these lights, every resource I own, it's yours to use. Not because I pity you, but because I believe in you. The executives gasped, stunned at a man they had only known as ruthless. But tonight, they saw something they thought impossible: humility. The girl's eyes shone, her brother smiling proudly beside her. She picked up the pen, her small fingers trembling, and whispered, Thank you. And as the cameras of destiny rolled, the world would remember not the millionaire's wealth, but the night a cleaner's daughter taught him what true riches were. Kindness, courage, and the power of dreams.